The Mother-Daughter Book Club by Heather Vogel Frederick, a First Chapter Friday read-aloud video with the Word Nerd. Today as you listen, play along. Watch for the story quote that will appear on screen. Write it down word by word, and then follow the instructions given to you by your teacher. Make sure you stay all the way to the end to see if you've written it down correctly. Today's quote actually comes from the book Little Women, which plays a big role in this story. It was originally written in 1868 by Louisa May Alcott and is considered a classic in American literature. But for now, let's dig into the first chapter of The Mother-Daughter Book Club by Heather Vogel Frederick.
Hi, my name's Amanda Zieba. Welcome to my channel, Learning with the Word Nerd, and another First Chapter Friday video. This week I'm going to be reading to you from The Mother-Daughter Book Club by Heather Vogel Frederick. And I'm just going to read you the back right away because it's just going to do a much better job of explaining it than I would if I rambled at you, and then I'll tell you a few more things. The book club is about to get a makeover. Even if Megan would rather be at the mall, Cassidy is late for hockey practice, Emma's already read every book in existence, and Jess is missing her mother too much to care, the new book club is scheduled to meet every month. But what begins as a mom-inspired ritual of reading Little Women soon helps four unlikely friends navigate the drama of middle school. From stolen journals to secret crushes to a fashion fiasco first dance, the girls are up to their welly boots in drama. They can't help but wonder, what would Jo March do? Acclaimed author Heather Vogel Frederick will delight daughters of all ages in a novel about the fabulousness of fiction, family, and friendship. If you like books that are told from multiple perspectives, for very different character perspectives, you are going to love this book. If you like books that kind of mirror what your everyday life might be like steeped in the realness of middle school life, you are going to like this book. If you like books that are a series, you're going to like this book. So if I turn it around, you can see that this series goes on and on and on, and it is so great. So without further ado, I'm going to read you chapter 1 of the Mother-Daughter Book Club by Heather Vogel Frederick. And if you think that name sounds familiar, you're right. She wrote another book that I recently shared called Absolutely Truly. And even though she might not be a household name, I discovered her when I worked at a middle school and was in the library multiple times every week. And I was pulled into her stories, and once I read one, I read like all of them. Thus why I'm sharing them with you. Chapter 1 is from Emma's perspective. She is the character who has probably already read every book in existence. It makes sense to start a book club book with that character. It also, every chapter starts with a quote directly from Little Women. You don't need to have read Little Women or watched the movie to understand the story, but if you do, there's lots of other like little Easter eggs and hints in there for you, little nods that you will like. Nice skirt, Emma, calls Becca Chadwick, giving me the once-over as I head down the aisles of the school bus looking for a seat. This is not a compliment, and I know it, and she knows it. Blushing, I slide into the first empty spot I find. My brother Darcy passes me, heading for the last few rows, which by tradition are reserved for 8th graders. Behind me, I hear Becca whisper something to Ashley Sanborn. I hunch down and smooth a crease in my skirt, my stomach clenching in an all too familiar anxiety. It's starting already. I'd hoped maybe 6th grade would be different. Must have been a big back-to-school sale at the thrift store, says Ashley, her lame attempt at sarcasm producing a burst of laughter from Becca. As the bus doors whoosh shut and we lurch forward down Lowell Road, I force myself to ignore them both and look out the window instead. The familiar scenery is soothing, and I feel myself relax a little as we cross the quiet waters of the Concord River and pass stately old colonial houses and meadows hemmed by time-worn stone walls. In a few weeks, the leaves on all the trees will start to turn, quilting the woods with New England's famous blaze of yellow and scarlet and orange. Here and there amongst the thickets, I spot fat clusters of wild Concord grapes. They'll be ripe soon, and just thinking about the way the thick purple skins burst when I bite down, releasing the sour juiciness inside, makes my mouth start to water. As we turn onto Barnes Hill Road and begin our slow circle back toward town, I pull a notebook from my backpack and open to a fresh page. Ode to September, I write across the top. I chew the eraser on my pencil, pondering my opening line. But instead of writing verse, I find myself stewing about how much I hate the first day of school. I never used to. When I was little, I could hardly wait for it to start. I'd get all excited about my new lunchbox and pencils and stuff, and I'd wear my new shoes around for weeks just to break them in. Then, a couple of years ago, in fourth grade, everything changed. Suddenly, it was all about who's popular and who's not, and if you're wearing the right thing, which I never am. Ever. The bus wheezes to a stop in front of the Bullet Hole House. It's called the Bullet Hole House even though the Anderson family owns it because 250 years ago during the Revolutionary War, a retreating redcoat, that's what they used to call the British soldiers, fired at it. Well, at Elisha Jones, who lived in the house back then. He was a Minuteman and he'd accidentally slept through the skirmish across the street at the Old North Bridge. He was standing there in his doorway watching the British retreat when it happened. Sometimes I think about the Jones family, who were probably sitting at their breakfast table when wham! All of a sudden a bullet hits the house. I'd have been scared to death. At least it missed Elisha. Anyway, the hole is still there, and there's a little sign explaining all about it. The Bullet Hole House is on all the maps of Concord, and tourists are always stopping to take pictures of it. They take pictures of everything in our town. You can't turn around in Concord, Massachusetts without bumping into history, my dad says, and I guess he's right. The front door opens and someone runs out, but it isn't a Minuteman, and it isn't a redcoat. It's only Kyle Anderson. He swats me on the head as he passes by my seat. It's more of a big brother swat than a mean swat, though. I've known Kyle since I was in diapers. Hey, Emma, he says. Hey, Kyle. Behind me, Becca and Ashley chorus their hellos too, but Kyle ignores them and takes a seat beside my brother. Kyle and Darcy are best friends. The bus lumbers on, round white-steepled Monument Square and on past Sleepy Hollow Cemetery where all the famous people of Concord are buried, patriots and soldiers and writers like Henry David Thoreau and Ralph Waldo Emerson and Nathaniel Hawthorne and Louisa May Alcott. As we swing onto Old Bedford Road, the final leg of the bus ride to Walden Middle School, I start to feel sick. The butterflies in my stomach feel more like a herd of buffalo, and I'm worried I might throw up like I did on the first day of kindergarten. My mother loves to tell the story of how when she dropped me off in the classroom that day, my teacher leaned down to say hello, and I was so nervous I threw up all over her shoes. Emma really made a splash, is the line my mother always says, and it always gets a laugh. I don't feel like laughing now, though. I close my eyes and breathe deeply, trying to calm the stampeding buffalo. I can only imagine the impression I'll make on my first day of middle school if I walk into the classroom and barf. It doesn't help that I can hear Becca and Ashley whispering about my skirt again. I feel my face grow hot, and I wish for the millionth time that my mother hadn't made me wear it. It's pretty and everything, and nearly brand new, but still, it's a hand-me-down. My mother said it looked fine and that no one would ever know, but I knew better. The bus slows as we reach Half Moon Farm, but there are no Delaney's at the bus stop next to Jess's dog Sugar, looking mournful, so we keep going. Jess's mom always drives her and her brothers on their first day of school. Her dad must have decided to keep up the family tradition this year. I wish he hadn't. Not that Jess could make Becca and Ashley any nicer. That would take a complete personality transplant, but it always makes me feel a little better having my best friend around. Trying to block out their comments, I concentrate on my poem again. I'm working on finding a good rhyme word for grape. Ape? Cape? Tape? When we pull up in front of the middle school. Mom made Darcy promise to take care of me this morning, and he herds me confidently through the crowded lobby. Everybody's pushing and shoving as they crowd around and a list posted on the wall by the office. Darcy runs his finger down the sixth grade homerooms and jabs at my name when he spots it. Miss Morales, 6C, he says. I must look pretty panicked because he smiles at me and pats my shoulder. Darcy's pretty nice. For a brother. Don't worry, he tells me. You'll like her. How about Jess? He looks at the list again and then shakes his head. Sorry, Zem. She's in 6B with Mr. Flanagan. But he's a good dude, too. As Darcy steers me down the hall towards C6, I console myself with the thought that Jess and I will probably still see each other for most of our classes. We're both in all the advanced groups. Have fun, my brother says, leaving me at my homeroom door. I nod weakly, still feeling nauseous. No one pays me the slightest bit of attention as I walk in. They're all too busy looking for their name tags. I circle the desk nervously hunting for mine. Great. Miss Morales put me right across from Megan Wong. I slip into my seat and slant a quick glance at her. Megan is slipping her perfect shoulder-length black hair around and showing off her new earrings to Ashley and Becca. She must have gotten her ears pierced over summer vacation. Jen Webster arrives and comes over to join them. The four of them travel in a pack, like wolves. The Fab Four, Darcy calls them. They like it when he says that. That's because they like my brother. Darcy's a jock, and all the girls think he's cute and call our house all the time to talk to him. Darcy and I both have the same short, curly brown hair and brown eyes, but so far, nobody thinks I'm cute. You're just a late bloomer, my mother tells me. Be patient. This is mom code for my daughter is an ugly duckling, and I'm hoping she'll turn out to be a swan. But still, it's comforting to hear. Especially when you don't see so much as a single swan feather yet when you look in the mirror. I watch the Fab Four surreptitiously while I unpack my school supplies and organize my desk. Becca Chadwick is the queen bee. I learned this from a book my mother was reading over the summer about adolescent girls. She's a librarian and always reading books to try and understand me and my brother better. Queen bees are the ones who end up being the boss. How this works, I have no idea, but every group has one. They're popular and stuck up, and they aren't generally very nice to the regular bees. That's certainly true for Becca Chadwick. As for Megan and Ashley and Jen, too. The three of them are like the queen bee's court. The wanna bees, Jess and I call them. The sad thing is, Megan Wong used to be my friend. Almost as good a friend as Jess. We used to play Barbies for hours after school in her sunroom. Megan made the most amazing clothes for them. I still have some little dresses and hats and things that she showed. Then in fourth grade, I got glasses, and Megan's father invented some computer gizmo and made $1 billion, and that was the end of that. Now Megan's all rich and conceited. The sunroom is long gone. Her family traded the cozy condo it belonged to for a house that looks like a museum or an airplane hangar. And Megan traded me for Becca, Ashley, and Jen. Someone slides into the seat beside me. I look over. It's Zach Norton. His hair is bleached streaky blonde from the sun, and he smells like summer. The buffaloes start thundering in my stomach again. Hi, I manage to whisper. Hey, Emma, he replies casually, then turns away and starts throwing wadded up balls of paper at Ethan McDonald. Ethan bats them back with a ruler. The Fab Four are practically shrieking with laughter at something Megan just said, trying to get Zach's attention, but he doesn't notice. He's too busy with his baseball game. Why is it girls think boys will notice them if they're loud anyway? I stare at the back of Zach's neck. He obviously just got a haircut because there's a slim line of white skin where his tan stops and where the edge of his sun-bleached hair begins. It's like the curl of surf against a sandy beach. I contemplate it for a while and then look around the room feeling a little better. Even if he ignores me all year, I'm still sitting next to Zach Norton. Things could be a whole lot worse. I could have been stuck at a desk next to Cassidy Sloan, for instance. She's new. She moved here from California at the end of fifth grade, and her mom used to be a fashion model, but you'd never know it by looking at Cassidy. She has red hair she never combs and scabby knees, and all she thinks about is sports, sports, sports. How about those Red Sox? Zach yells over at her, and Cassidy grins and gives him a thumbs up. The two of them played together on the same Little League team over summer. I know this because I used to practice right before my brother Darcy's team. Sometimes I'd ride my bike over an hour early or so just so I could watch Zach. Not that anyone ever suspected that was what I was doing, of course. They all thought I was there to watch Darcy. I get up to sharpen my pencil and make a mental note to start following the Red Sox, so I'll have something to talk about with Zach too. On the way back to my seat, I notice Megan staring at my skirt. Nicole Patterson had a skirt just like that last year, she says. I wonder what she did with it. Becca and Ashley and Jen all snicker right on cue, like they're one another's own personal laugh track. I feel my face turning hot with humiliation. The Pattersons go to our church. Nicole's an eighth grader like my brother, and her parents are always loading bags of her hand-me-downs into our station wagon after Sunday school. My mother says it's wonderfully generous of them to help a big family like ours, especially when we're on a budget. But I'd give anything not to have to wear Nicole's rejects. The rest of the day goes pretty much downhill from there, with the Fab Four needling me every opportunity they get. I'm close to tears by the time the last call rolls around. Thankfully, none of them are in the advanced group for science. Science is okay. Nobody I know really loves it except Jess and Kevin Mullins, who skipped about 4 grades and is like 8 and will probably be accepted at Harvard before the rest of us even start high school. Jess loves it, of course, she would. She's a total brainiac. I'm smart enough, especially at reading and writing, but Jess, she's a genius. And if truth be told, a bit of a nerd. She took the math part of the SAT last spring for fun. Who takes the SAT for fun when they're not even 12? Our science teacher, Mr. Reed, passes around a bunch of handouts and then launches into a speech about the joys of middle school science. This year, one of the exciting things we'll be doing is dissecting cow eyes, he tells us, in this kind of voice usually reserved for telling your family that you're taking them to Disney World. I tug on Jess's braids to get her to look over her shoulder at me. She has the most amazingly gorgeous thick blonde hair, which she wears in a braid down her back. And when she does, I roll my eyes and move quietly. Jess giggles. Mr. Reed drones on, and I'm yawning like crazy when the bell finally rings and school is over. Outside, Mr. Delaney is waiting in the pickup line to take us home. Mrs. Delaney always used to do this, but she's away right now. We stop for ice cream to celebrate. Celebrate what? Not barfing at school? Not crying in front of the Fab Four? And then head back to Half Moon Farm. Jess's dad drops us at the end of the driveway. I'll be back in a bit, he tells us. I have to pick up the twins. Dylan and Ryan, Jess's little brothers, are first graders at Emerson Elementary. Don't forget you have voice lessons in an hour, Jess. Jess makes a face as her father drives away. I hate voice lessons, she says. Why? I ask. Jess adores music, and she has the voice of an angel. She lifts a shoulder in a half shrug. I don't know. I just do. Jess never used to take voice lessons before her mother went away. A luxury farmer can't afford, Mr. Delaney always used to say. I guess organic farming isn't the best paying job in the world. Delaney's have owned Half Moon Farm for generations, but it was Jess's dad who decided to make it all organic. He plows the fields with a pair of big Belgian draft horses named Lep and Zepp, after his favorite rock group, Led Zeppelin. The Delaneys have chickens for fresh eggs, and goats for milk and cheese, and an apple orchard for fruit and pies, and depending on the season, they sell all kinds of herbs and berries and vegetables. Jess and I always help out at the farm stand in the summer. It's fun. Anyway, now that Jess's mom has a new job as an actress, I guess she's making lots of money and sending some of it home for luxuries, like voice lessons. Inside the house, we each grab an apple off the kitchen counter. Jess shoos Dolly Parton back outside. Not the country singer, a chicken. Mrs. Delaney loves country music, and she named all the hens after her favorite stars. Sometimes they sneak into the house if somebody forgets to latch the back screen door. It's pretty funny to see them wandering around. Once, Patsy Cline hopped up on the sofa beside us and laid an egg. Jess and I about died laughing. Hey, it's 3:30, I tell Jess, glancing at the clock over the stove. We take our backpacks up to her room. Sugar, Jess's Shetland sheepdog, is close on our heels. Jess flips on the TV. Hi, Mom, she says as her mother's face appears on the screen. I wave. Hi, Mrs. Delaney. Sugar barks. Jess's mom is on a soap opera called Heartbeats. She went to New York out of the blue last month to audition, and she got the part. She found an apartment, and she's living there now. I'm not really sure when she's planning to come back home. Jess doesn't like to talk about it much, but she watches her mother's show every day. Her hair looks good like that, I say. Jess nods and takes a bite of her apple. Sugar barks at the TV screen again, and Jess's mother starts talking to the actress who's playing her best friend. Sugar misses Mrs. Delaney too, and her sisters. The Delaneys actually have two Shelties, Sugar and Spice. Mr. Delaney got them for Jess and her mother for Valentine's Day a couple years ago. They were the most adorable puppies I'd ever seen. Mrs. Delaney took Spice to New York with her to keep her from getting lonely. After a while, we turned the volume down. Dialogue on Heartbeats is unbelievably lame. I don't know how Jess's mother can keep her face straight when she says her lines. Honestly, I could write better stuff than that. Help me with my homework, I asked Jess. Sure, she replies. Jess has skipped ahead to algebra this year with Darcy and Kyle. I'm in regular 6th grade math and I'm terrible at it. Jess has been my tutor since kindergarten. And you guys, the first chapter goes on for actually quite a few more pages. And I know the class is short, so I want to cut it off there, but we kind of have an idea of the characters, okay? Emma is the bookworm, and Jess is the science nerd, and Megan is the fashionable one, and Cassidy is the sports one, and they're all going to end up in the same book club together and not be all that happy about it, to be completely honest. But as books often go, they come around to the idea, and they end up becoming great friends with quite a few bumps along the way. So if this sounds interesting to you, pick up a copy of the Mother-Daughter Book Club from your school library, purchase it from your favorite local indie bookstore, or grab it via the link down in the video description box. You'd think that I'd be good at saying all that by now, but here we are. Thanks so much for joining me for this first Chapter Friday video. I hope you will come back again next week for more. I'll see you again next time. Happy reading.
To continue reading the Mother-Daughter Book Club or check out the other books in this series, pick up a copy from your school library, purchase one from your favorite local indie bookstore, or grab it via the link in the video description box. Then be sure to check out the rest of the First Chapter Friday playlist. I've got more than 200 middle grade and young adult novels waiting for you to discover. This week's mystery quote says, "What a trying world it is. No sooner do we get out of one trouble than down comes another." Thanks so much for visiting my channel, Learning with the Word Nerd. I hope you come back again for more First Chapter Fridays, brain breaks, direct teaching instruction videos, and more. I'll see you again next time. Happy reading.